I doubt that there are a lot of people that only play Yu-Gi-Oh! Whether you play other card games or other video games, Yu-Gi-Oh! Probably isn't the only thing that you play and do with your life. Now, personally, I've picked up many other card games, and I play video games pretty consistently, and the times that I'm really playing other card games is when the Yu-Gi-Oh! Format is really stale, or I'm just not interested in it. Now, that happens to be right now, and also usually anytime between the North American World Championship qualifier ending and the next Forbidden Limitless, which is sort of the area that we're in right now. And the two card games that I wanted to talk about in this video are Pokemon and Hearthstone. I don't want this to be a video where I say every other card game besides Yu-Gi-Oh! Is bad, because I don't necessarily think either of these card games are bad. They're just not what I intend to play in the long run. They're just games that I play casually or semi-competitively in some cases, but they're not my main go-to games here. But I don't think that they're terrible, and I don't want this to be like an elitist video of people just ragging on other card games. I will say that there's not Magic the Gathering on this list, because every time that I've tried to play Magic the Gathering, I mean, I know the rules of it, but like every time I try to play it, it just really doesn't interest me. I can't quite put my finger on it. It's not fun. I don't know, even with the competitive decks, but that's besides the point. I'm going to talk about Pokemon Hearthstone and talk about why I play Yu-Gi-Oh! Instead of those games. So let's start off with Pokemon, which I picked up during Necros format when they first came out. I had already had my invite, and it was back when Brio was at 3 and Preparation of Rites was at 3, and the deck was just really impossible to deal with. So I picked up Pokemon, and I liked it a lot. The reasons that I liked Pokemon were that, I mean, mainly, I think the Pokemon cards are a lot more, or the Pokemon themselves are a lot more iconic compared to Yu-Gi-Oh! They're a lot more mainstream, and I identify with a lot of the Pokemon, just like growing up as a kid and stuff and playing all the video games associated with it. I thought I would eventually pick up the Pokemon game, and it was a lot of fun. And I mean, heck, the channel icon for my channel is an upside down Pokemon card, so clearly I like the game. Well, maybe I just like Sfeel. And but all the Pokemon are really cool, and everyone kind of knows them, so it's really fun. It's relatively cheap compared to Yu-Gi-Oh! That's due partly to set rotation, but also you just pull like a ton of really solid cards out of every box that you buy. The boxes themselves are a little bit more expensive, but there's a ton more packs in them. And anytime that I bought a Pokemon box, I felt like I was getting a lot better value compared to Yu-Gi-Oh! Boxes, where like it's either pull a good secret or bust. There's just a ton of useful Pokemon rares and uncommons and stuff like that compared to Yu-Gi-Oh! And also, I like how the pack setup is in terms of any card can be a holographic. In general, the Pokemon max rarity cards look ridiculously good. They just have such interesting ways of making them cool looking. Full arts in particular, now they have like rainbow rares and hyper rares and all that kind of stuff. The Pokemon cards look and feel really good. And also the fact that you can get any common card, any card as a holographic makes it really interesting, because that means you can max rarity any deck regardless. You're not waiting for like Astro Pack type sets, because any card just out of the box can be a holographic card, which is really cool. I also really liked the events. I only went to one event, but it was a lot of fun. Really nice crowd. People in the Pokemon community are proud to play Pokemon. They use the Pokemon mats, they use the Pokemon sleeves, they're dressed up, they have Pokemon stuffed animals. They're just really proud of Pokemon and Nintendo as a company, whereas at Yu-Gi-Oh! Events, a lot of the times, I mean, we sort of just make fun of people that use Yu-Gi-Oh! Like anime sleeves and stuff, so that was kind of cool. And the prize support, while a lot of people praise it as being strictly better than Yu-Gi-Oh!, I wouldn't say that. I'd say it's comparable. Because, I don't know, I think it's sort of unfair to say that Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't have good prize support, which is like another topic. I think Yu-Gi-Oh's prize support is like alright. I think Pokemon's prize support is alright. I will say that not having entry packs at like regionals and stuff is kind of weird, and it is also kind of weird because the last time that I checked, they had two main formats, and the regionals were run with one of them, and then the bigger events and the locals were run with like a different one, so that was kind of confusing. Some had like expanded card pools, which I don't know, I guess was good and bad, but also made it kind of confusing to get into. Also, filling out a deck list for Pokemon is like really bad. It was just an awful experience. But yeah, I mean, overall, I had a lot of fun in Pokemon. I still have a lot of the cards, and in terms of like card games that are still fun to buy packs for, even though I don't play them anymore, Pokemon's pretty high on the list. Especially if there's like, I mean, everyone has like their favorite Pokemon, you know. There aren't a lot of Pokemon players that have favorite Yu-Gi-Oh cards, but I think almost every Yu-Gi-Oh player has favorite Pokemon, which is sort of interesting to think about. But yeah, Pokemon was fun. Don't play it anymore. I haven't played it for like a year or so, but I still keep up with it. Now with Hearthstone, which is what I'm currently playing and that I've played a lot more than I've played Pokemon, I just think there's like so many cool things about it. The interface is incredible. The fact that you can go between your computer, your laptop, and your phone all with the same stuff is really great. I also love that, just like Pokemon, there are walrus cards. I don't know if you guys know that I like walruses, but I don't know why Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't have a walrus card yet. We have like thousands of cards and no walruses. I don't know if they just, maybe Japan doesn't know about walruses, but maybe one day we'll get them. But Hearthstone has a bunch of walrus cards. That's kind of cool. But Hearthstone is also relatively cheap. I will say it's a little harder to get stuff when you're just starting out because you have to buy packs. You can't just buy cards straight up, which is sort of challenging because, yes, you can buy packs to get dust to make cards, but if you really want specific, harder to get cards, you have to end up buying a lot of packs or playing a lot. I will say that I personally have spent like $50 on Hearthstone, and I've had several competitive decks. If you just play a lot and you're good enough and you can do the drafting system well enough, you can usually avoid spending a lot of money on things. Once again, their cards, their max rarity cards look beautiful because they're all gold and they're animated, which is really neat. I also really like Hearthstone because, and a lot of people complain about the RNG, which is true. The game is pretty random, but a lot of those randomness effects can only happen because it's an online only game. The big thing, I mean, there's a lot of different things, but the big mechanic is that you can discover cards, and an example in Yu-Gi-Oh would be like, if it's sort of like Pantheism's graveyard effect, except if that just picked from any Monarch's spell or trap like in the game. So like if a card says discover a beast, it just takes discover a beast, that would take it'd show you 3 cards that were beast cards from all of the card pool, and then you get to pick one and add it to your hand. That's not possible to do in an in real life card game, and there's just a lot of randomized effects that once again some people don't like because it takes a little bit of skill out of the game, but it can only happen in a card game that isn't in real life, and that's cool. But I also I don't know, I like the end of season rewards too, where they give you free stuff if you keep up on things. I like the matchmaking system. I like all the different game modes that are there for competitive and casual players. I like the spectating option. There's a lot of stuff that I like in Hearthstone. However, I obviously play Yu-Gi-Oh! That is my main game. It's a game that I keep going back to. So now, after I've sort of raved about Pokemon and Hearthstone, I want to talk about why I keep coming back to Yu-Gi-Oh! First, and the biggest one by far, is that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is fast. It's way faster than any other card game, for better or for worse. It doesn't have any mana, doesn't have any energy cards, doesn't have any lands, it doesn't have any of that stuff. And when it was first created, sort of the Yu-Gi-Oh's version of those types of mana systems was having like your normal summon, where you can only normal summon once per turn. But obviously in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! That's not really a factor. And I know, trust me, I know that in the modern versions of all these games, and also Magic the Gathering, that there are decks where you can sort of ramp up and sort of circumvent that system. But you have to go out of your way to do that. And Yu-Gi-Oh! Even the worst decks ever can special summon. I mean, Crystal Beast's first turn options are like way more than even like the perfect opening in Hearthstone, and that's just really funny to think about. Pokemon in particular is kind of interesting because you can burn through so many cards in your deck with items and trainers, but when it comes down to it, it usually takes you a turn or two to set up an attack or evolve a Pokemon or whatever. Even if you build your deck to evolve on the first turn, you have to go out of your way to do that. So Yu-Gi-Oh! I think will always be faster than those other card games. We just have so much consistency, so many deck thinning cards is just incredible. I'm a sucker for the extra deck. I think having the ability to have 15 cards that you can always access and build your deck around is a really unique aspect that no other game has. I think I read somewhere that Magic has something similar. I'm not entirely sure. Once again, Magic's the one that I'm least familiar with, but at least in Hearthstone and Pokemon, that's just non-existent. And I think it makes Yu-Gi-Oh really cool because that sort of just goes with that speed and consistency thing where you want a card, you just summon it to the field from your extra deck. You don't even have to draw it. You don't even have to search it. You don't have to play multiple copies of it. It's just there when you need it. That's so cool. And the main thing here that I think a lot of people agree with is that one of the reasons that Yu-Gi-Oh is great is because there's no set rotation. Now, hold on. Before some of you say, well, Doug, the Forbidden and Limited list is set rotation. Konami always just pushes the new products. First of all, that's not true. And I think that it's funny because I think the same people that say Konami only pushes new products are the people that are saying Burning Abyss has been around for too long. Like, which one do you want? Do you want them to kill all old decks for new decks, or do you want them to kill, or do you not, or you want to keep those old decks around forever? It's just like, you can't have both. You can't. If you've ever complained about Burning Abyss not being hit hard enough, even though they're hit on 4 ban lists, and then you're also the type of person that complains that Konami only pushes new product, realize you're part of the problem. But anyway, there's no actual set rotation in Yu-Gi-Oh! Outside of the Forbidden Limited list, which is only about a couple hundred cards out of thousands of them. And that's really cool. And while you might not be able to pick up an old deck and just play competitively, you can pick up an old deck and play. And that might not seem like a big deal, but it is. And as someone who, the main reason that I never got back into Pokemon after the format that I played was all my cards were you legally could not play them in a tournament, and that really sucked. And getting back into Hearthstone right now was really hard for me because my favorite deck, half the cards rotated out of it. So I just stuck through it and got the new cards, but it's even though those decks wouldn't have been good anymore, at least they would have been playable. If I leave Yu-Gi-Oh! And come back in a year, I can still play Fluffles, or I can still play Burning Abyss. Maybe I'll have to adjust a couple things for the ban list, and maybe I'll get my ass kicked at a regional, but I can still play those decks. And that's why I love Yu-Gi-Oh! And I think that's why a lot of people keep coming back to Yu-Gi-Oh! It's so hard to go from and every game has its advantages and disadvantages and their own communities and stuff, and I truly have enjoyed all the time that I spent playing Pokemon, and I'm currently enjoying Hearthstone before the new ban list comes out, but I can't escape the speed and the consistency and not having a set rotation of Yu-Gi-Oh! Especially for a channel like mine where heck, I'm posting about Fluffle Shadalls years after those decks came out, and you just can't do that in those other card games. But I know that sort of creates a barrier for new players as well, because then they have to learn all the old cards. But I think from a longevity standpoint, Yu-Gi-Oh's one of the big selling points compared to the other card games is that it doesn't have set rotation, where every other card game, pretty much, all the big ones at least, do. But anyway, that's going to end this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my reasoning. I'm sure it'll start some sort of flame war in the comments about people that have quit Yu-Gi-Oh! And now play those games, but I truly didn't mean any disrespect to any of the card games that I discussed. I think they all have their advantages and disadvantages, and like I said, I have enjoyed playing all of them. It's just, I can't escape the speed, man. But I'll see you guys later. Let me know why you play Yu-Gi-Oh! Instead of Hearthstone or Pokemon or Magic the Gathering or Force of Will or Cardfight Vanguard or whatever. And I'll see you later. Bye.